Hello everyone. In this video, we will go through session 2.2, the types of numbers. In this subsession, we're going to introduce different types of numbers, including integers, decimal numbers, fractions, and mixed numbers, which are composed of integers and fractions. First, let's look at integers. The simplest integers are the numbers that we learned to count when we were little kids. They are from 1 to 9. Then we can count more and more from 10 to 100, and then to 1,000 and more. These numbers are called positive integers. They are the numbers that we use so frequently in our daily life to count many things. But besides these positive numbers, there are other numbers less than 1. The first we come across is 0. It means no quantity or having nothing. Before we carry on, let's briefly talk about the history of 0. Compared to the positive numbers, which had been used since many thousand years ago, 0 is relatively new in human history. 0 as a concept of a numerical value was first introduced in India in the 5th century AD. In the 7th century, an Indian mathematician named Brahmagupta invented a set of calculation rules for 0 for the first time ever in the history. It is not until the 16th century that 0 was widely accepted as a number in Europe, which allows the European mathematics to flourish. We also have numbers less than 0. They are -1, -2, -3, etc., called the negative integers. On the other hand, 0 together with positive integers are called the whole numbers. There is another way of categorizing the integers, that is, to divide the integers into even and odd numbers. The integers that can be divided by 2 are called the even numbers. The integers that cannot be divided by 2 are called the odd numbers. Okay, so we are done with the integers. Next, we switch to decimal numbers. An example of the decimal number is the constant pi, which is equal to 3.14159, and so on. This number is a natural constant related to the circles. It is obtained by dividing the circumferences of the circle by its diameter. The ancient Greek thought that the circle is the perfect shape because it is extremely symmetric. However, this ratio between the circumferences and the diameter requires infinitely many digits to express the exact value. It cannot be expressed in the form of a fraction. Such kind of number is given a special name called an irrational number because it cannot be written into a ratio. This property is far from simple, nor is it perfect. This is an evidence that the nature may not be as perfect as we think. Let's come back to the decimal number. The point after the units digit is called the decimal point, or more generally, the decimal mark. The first digit after the decimal point is called the 10th digit. Please note that the 10th digit here ends with th. Do not mix it with the 10th digit of an integer which ends with an s. The second digit after the decimal point is called the 100th digit, and the third digit is called the 1000th digit. Let me remind you again, please do not confuse them with the hundreds and thousands digits of integers. The names are different. To complete the topic of decimal numbers, let's answer this question. Here is another natural constant, which is called the Euler number, symbolized by E. It is related to the behavior of continuous growth. The value of E is 2.1828 and so on. Now, can you find out what the 10th, 100th, and 1000th digits are? The next topic we're going to deal with is the fractions. A fraction, like this one, is made of two components. The number on the top is called the numerator. The number in the bottom is called the denominator. We all know this number expresses 1 divided by 3. But how to read a fraction like this? Well, there are many ways of reading it. For daily use, we can call it 1/3 or a third. Actually, the word third means the quantity 1/3. So, 1/3 or a third means there is one such quantity. On the other hand, if you want to make more mathematical sense out of this expression, you can read it by 1/3 or 1/3 or even 3 inverse. These all literally read out the mathematical meaning of 1/3. Now, please practice to read 1/3 in these different ways by yourself once. Having the basic idea of how the fraction reads, we can now look at more fractions. The simplest fraction is 1/2, and we call it 1/2. This is because one pizza divided between two people, each one has half a pizza, and that is 1/2. Then we have 1/3, as we just saw. Next, 1/4 is usually called 1/4 or a quarter, but not 1/4. This is the native speaker's conventional way of saying 1/4. Then we have 1/5, 1/6, 1/7, 1/8, 1/9, and 1/10. One can follow this pattern and carry on from 1/11, 1/12, 1/13, and so on to 1/n for 1/n. So far, we only introduced the fractions with numerator 1. How about more complicated fractions? Let's move one step forward. This is the fraction 2/3. It is read 2/3. Notice the s attached to third. If the numerator is greater than 1, we must add the s. In this example, it is 2/3 rather than 2/3. If one says 2/3, it is incorrect. This is the key point of this kind of fractions that we have to bear in mind. For 4/3, we call it 3/4. Again, notice the s after the quarter. Similarly, we call 5/9 5/9. So, why is 5/9 called 5/9? Well, the reason is 5/9 can actually be decomposed into 5 times 1/9, which means there are 5 1/9. As a result, this is called 5/9, and the ninth is in the plural form. Simple, yeah? Okay, we had learned a lot about the fractions. This is 17/63. Can you pronounce it? When we talk about the fraction 1/3, we mentioned that there are many ways of saying it. Similarly here, there are more than one way of saying 17/63. For daily use, we can just call it 17/63. Repeat after me, 17/63. Okay, good. But if you want to express the mathematical meaning of it, you can say 17/63 or 17/63. Okay. Now we've got 2 questions for you to practice. The first question is, according to the previous explanation, can you figure out why 2/3 is called 2/3 and 3/4 is read as 3/4? The second question is, could you read the following fractions? -3/8 and 123/456 in various ways. Okay, then we are coming to the last part of this session, the mixed numbers. Before mentioning any detail of the mixed numbers, I would like you to recall, have you ever seen Harry Potter, either the movie or the novel? Can you remember how do Harry and his friends enter the magical world to board the Hogwarts Express? This is from this platform in King's Cross train station, London. Question: how do you read this platform number? You may first notice that this number is made of an integer and a fraction. That's why it is called a mixed number. This is a mixture of integer and fraction. The fraction part is 3/4 and the integer part is 9. So it is read as 9 3/4. What this picture shows is the platform 9 3/4. Here are 2 more examples to practice on. Can you read them? The first one is 6 2/7. The second one is 18 19/20. The second one is 18 19/20. Great! We had learned different types of numbers in this session. They are the integers, the decimal numbers, the fractions, and the mixed numbers. In the next subsession, we are going to look at the roots and the powers of numbers. See you soon.